Hey y'all, welcome to Nah But For Real, where besties who heal together keep it real together. I'm Allie, and this is my co-host Jay, and we are super excited to have you here with the Nah But For Real family. And so if you haven't already, go ahead and make sure that you are following us on all social media platforms at nbfr podcast. Make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel at Nah But For Real, and let's go ahead and jump into it with an icebreaker. Okay, so this week's icebreaker is sharing a topic that you were absolutely against, but then eventually you accepted it. So go ahead, Jay. What's that topic?
Mine is so random, but it just came to the top of my head when I answered the question. But arranged marriages was the first thing that I thought about. I was so anti-arranged marriage. Not that it has anything to do with my culture. I was never against people's culture. If that's a culture thing, I never was against the culture. It was just like, as for me and my mindset, it was quote unquote wrong. I was always like, love is the reason you should get married, not because of arrangements. But as I did more research and understanding about marriage and what it really is and the reasons people, where it came from anyway, I realized that I'm not against that at all. Honestly, I wish that my parents probably would have picked somebody for me. The long run, because a lot of times the love that came out of American movies and society, it really blinds us sometimes. Okay, and it can blind us from a lot of when it comes to marriage, um a lot of financial discrepancies, a lot of discrepancies that we ignore and that could potentially harm us. So I'm not saying that I'm like all for arranged marriages. At this point, I really don't give a damn, but I do completely don't I have accepted the understanding of why we have arranged marriages. So yes, random as hell, but that was the first thing that came to my head.
Mine is also going to be a little random, but I think that you're going to remember. I have known Jay for so long that it's like she's seen the transitions of me throughout so many different phases. And so when I thought about this question, this icebreaker, it was like kind of hard at first because I was like, what's something that I was against? Because I'm not usually against a lot of things. Like I'm just like,
Yeah.
real chill. Like I really don't care much. Um
Same.
and then I remembered when we were in maybe sixth grade. So mind you, I was in sixth grade, and this is something that I am no longer against. But when I was in sixth grade, I remember that we had a friend who didn't even want to tell me that she was gay because I was so uncomfortable around gay people. So, and I think that looking at it now as an adult, kind of thinking like, why was I so uncomfortable? Because it's not anything to be uncomfortable about. But I think as a sixth grader, because it wasn't normalized, because it was something that was so taboo, other people were uncomfortable with talking about it, that I automatically associated myself with being uncomfortable with it. And I remember the friend was like really afraid to like tell me about it. And then when she says it, I'm like, girl, I don't care. Cause I think that was the realization for me because it was closer to home than it was like with people like just randomly talking about it. And
Right.
that's definitely something that I would say that in the beginning, I was around, like I said, around sixth grade, I was very uncomfortable. I was like, I don't understand, like, what's the point? Like, and
Yeah.
then when I was probably in seventh grade, about a year later, is when that whole thing got transitioned to being just completely different. And now you probably wouldn't even know that about me that was something from so long ago because of the people that I associate myself with today. You wouldn't even know that. But yeah, that was something that I came to think about. I was like, Jay's gonna remember that.
I forgot until you just mentioned that. I definitely remember that. But y'all have to realize this was early 2000s. Like she said, we were in sixth grade. We were like, what, 11? I don't know. But we were very, very, very young. And like you said, it was very taboo to even talk about sexuality in general around
Exactly.
the time. I remember when Nikki came out and said she was bi, then everybody was like free in terms of like, hip hop. Now we're talking about it. Now the topic is coming up. And what that it was associated with at that time. So you have to realize the timing, you have to realize your background. Like, I remember having the conversation and growing up, I grew up with a very young mother who had gay friends and friends who did drag, and it was very normal for me to see drag in my house like that. You know, my family was performers. I was used to it. I didn't think twice because this is what I grew up. But you didn't have that experience. So, like you said, it was not something that you were comfortable about until it got right in your face, and it's like, this has nothing to do with me. when it finally comes to your attention, it's like I should to do with me. Why did I ever care? But like you said, we're basically taught to care about something that had nothing to do with you.
Exactly.
Same with marriages. So like, this has nothing to do with me whatsoever. But everybody's like, love, no. But I'm like, who the fuck? I'm not married. No, you know, yeah, same. Gotcha. I do remember.
So that was when I popped out. I was like, okay, that's a good one. That's a good one. So that's definitely for this, that being able to accept that and then see that that had nothing to do with anything outside of whatever. And so on the topic of acceptance is being able to accept ourselves. And the difference between being able to accept ourselves and having a self-esteem. So self-acceptance versus self-esteem. And we know we have like the self-esteem is like liking ourselves and liking our abilities, liking what we're capable of doing. However, I started to think that just because we like parts of ourselves and we like the abilities, does that mean that we accept ourselves in our fullest form? And what that could be like, what does that mean? And so, Jay, was there ever a time where you can think about like an insecurity of yours that you had, and then you had to learn, or you didn't have to, but you did learn to accept it?
For sure, my weight, for sure. And it's still times in which I struggle with that so much, but it's almost flipped now where it's more so I struggle with the self-esteem of my weight and having this weight, but I've almost grown to accept it. Although I'm not where I want to be in my head, I've accepted, kind of like when we talked about envy, I've grown to accept where I am. I've gone through those negative emotions and understand the attachments to those negative emotions. And like we said before, understood that we have this expectation of what it means to be pretty or have a nice body. And that don't got nothing to do with me. And you know, I placed this false sense of what I should look like on myself. And now I'm beating myself up. And I was never gonna be shaped like that anyway. It has nothing to do with me. So that has become my realization. Because of that, I'm now able to accept myself. Even if I'm having self-esteem, it's more so like, I know that I can do better in the gym and I'm not going. I know that I shouldn't be eating this and it makes me feel uncomfortable versus I wish I looked like this. Even like before, I was comparing myself to my old self. Like, I look like this in high school. And I'm like, girl, you are 25. You're not going to ever look like you looked in high school. That's an unreal and dumb expectation for me to ever put on myself. It's not going to happen because maybe I might be that weight, but I will never look how I looked at 15 ever again. And that's okay because I was 15 already. And at that point, I couldn't accept myself at 15. And now it's time to accept myself at 25. So that's something that I had a really hard time with. Still sometimes struggle here and there. But like I said, having those talks with myself and realizing that this is who I am now. And I just, sometimes you just big. You're just big. It is what it is. It is what it is. It's still cute, period.
So thinking about mine, and I'm sure you're going to remember this too. I was thinking about like, what was something I was insecure about? And it was an instant, very quickly came to my mind. Definitely my forehead. It was definitely my forehead. I remember when we were younger, I don't remember what grade. It might have been seventh, might have been eighth, but I know for sure it was before high school. I started getting Chinese bangs to purposely cover up my forehead. And I already know what time you're thinking about, Jay. So she over here laughing.
Oh my God.
Funny story. So because I was trying to cover up my forehead with my bangs, I put my trust in so many people to just cut it so I don't have to deal with my forehead. And I remember I had a cousin who cut my bangs, and they were like way too short. And at that point in my head, it almost made my forehead look even bigger because of the way that they were the way that they were cut.
Like you got even more space in between right there. I never even thought about that. Oh my God.
So I think that it took a while, but then I slowly transitioned out of the Chinese bangs to like side bangs, and then it got to the point where I just didn't care at all. And now my forehead just be out, and I don't even pay attention to that. I don't see myself looking like, dang, that's a big old forehead. But the reason why those thoughts were even coming was because there were people who would be like, Allie, you have such a big forehead, or your forehead's so big. And so that's the thing. When people point out things about you, you wouldn't even think that that's like, something to be insecure about. So really checking those insecurities and where those insecurities come from. Are they coming from someone who said something to you and now you're like, well, they said this, so is it true? So yeah, that was definitely an insecurity that I had, and it stopped in high school. I'm glad it stopped in high school. It didn't make it to college. I was not in college at all worried about my forehead.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have better things to worry about in college than a
Right.
forehead, for sure.
Exactly.
For sure.
And so like with that self-esteem, what we were saying earlier, with being able to be confident in yourself and liking yourself, it's like it makes me wonder that just because I accept it, it doesn't really change. I don't know. It's this weird feeling, because that liking part of it, I can't say, oh, I like my forehead.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wouldn't say that, and that's where that self-acceptance comes in.
Yeah.
Or like I like my I don't know. There's just different things. So I'm just thinking about that, Jay. Like the difference with the self-esteem and self-acceptance. Like just because you
Right.
like something doesn't mean you accept it. Just because you accept it doesn't mean you like it.
Mm-hmm. When you say that, I automatically think about my vitiligo, and it's so funny because I always get people who, like, if it were me, I don't know how. Like, you're so confident, you're so this, and I always think it's because I've had it since I was 3. It's not like, oh my God, I love my skin. Like, I don't know it's there. When you think about like toes, like like if everybody got toes, you're not really just walking around thinking about your toes all day. Like, it's just not something you realize or notice. So that's in my head. That's self-acceptance. It's not so much I love this and have such great self-esteem about having spots. No, I literally just is just me, and I'm just used to it. Like this is just my skin. Just like nobody else thinks about their skin all day long. That's me, unless it itch or something. Like, it's not, you don't think about it. Like, and I think that's what self-acceptance is, where this is just a part of who I am. I don't think twice about it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of time our self-esteem stems from either it was an insecurity and we had to basically coach ourselves into loving this part of you, or seeing other people who have embraced that part of themselves, or it's something someone told you your whole life that you should be proudful of, that this looks nice. But when it comes to self-acceptance, like I said, things like our skin, if your skin looks like everybody else, we don't think about it. If our eyeballs, we don't think that they're in our heads, but we accept the fact that we can see,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like that's what the difference is. I don't have to love my size. I don't have to be like, oh my gosh, I love the best weight ever. And I can just be like, I'm awake, and I'm walking and I'm living. It is what it is. It's like you and your forehead. My forehead is just my head. It's just on my face. It's just attached. So yeah, I feel like that's the biggest difference.
Yeah, and as you were like saying that, I started thinking like when people, if you're talking to someone, you're like, oh no, are they looking at my forehead? Are they paying attention to my weight? Like that's just, we talked about in the episode before, that whole like ego confidence, like having that lower, what is that, like an unhealthy ego.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of going hand in hand with that, and having that self acceptance in who you are and how you look and your abilities, and it, like we said, it doesn't have to be like, oh, I love it and I like it, but being able to find how can you come to acceptance of it. And
Yeah.
maybe for you, Jay, I'm not sure if you already mentioned, but the ways or the steps that you took to help you when it came to accepting yourself, maybe your body or any other piece, just acceptance.
Yeah. For me, it was like I said before, is that comparison to my spots, because I automatically think when it comes to self-acceptance, everybody always thinks, they confuse the two from my spots. They think it's self-esteem. Like, how do you come out the house? How are you this? If it was me, I would be so scared. And it's because I don't think about it. It's not something that I think twice about. I don't notice my skin because I can't see me looking at me from the outside, you know? So that's what I had to realize with my weight. Like you said before, everybody is not going around like, "Ooh, that girl fat." Like, that's not what people are just sitting. People are not worried about you. And that's a lot of what my self-acceptance journey had to be. It was checking myself. People are not worried about you. Honest to God. I hate to be the bearer of bad news for those who thought they was hot shit and everybody just worried about what they got going on. People are not. And that was the biggest breakthrough for me, is realizing people have their own lives. They're not thinking twice about how big you are. After they comment, they might have scarred you for life. They're gonna walk away, have dinner, and forget completely what they said. Completely what they said. They ain't think twice. So it's like, if this is just a comment that they've made this one time and they haven't thought twice about me, why should I think twice about it? It's not hurting me. It's not, damaging me. And like I said, the comparison, I had to really think about why, I was comparing myself to that, like my 15-year-old weight. And it had nothing to do with weight. It had to do with how I looked at my pictures. I looked happy. Okay, what else was going on around that time? I was with my friends. I was singing. I was with my mom. Like, there was so many factors that came to play that had nothing to do with weight and why I was smiling, like brighter than I might be smiling now. Ain't got nothing to do with a double chin, y'all. I promise you that. I promise you that. The reason I was feeling confident in a bikini, it had nothing to do with that. It was because of the people around me and the experiences that I was having. So for that, it was like, why am I not wearing a bikini? Girl, you're not outside. You're not at the beach. When you was 15, you was at the beach. You're not putting yourself at the beach because now you're scared to be in a bikini when really you just not at the beach, right? Things of that nature. I had to realize, again, like we said in the ego episode, what is really driving this emotion, because it's not just that you're big. It's not just that your forehead big. Like that's not, these are not the underlying factors. What really is hurting you, So.
Right. Like, is it the people and what they're saying? Are they hurting you? And who are these people in your life? And as you're like saying some of those pieces, made me think of like social anxiety and how difficult it really can be, because when you have social anxiety, you truly think that people are worried about what you have going on, and people are going to comment and say something to you that's going to make you, feel upset and alarmed. And so being able to look back at the times where those incidents did happen, and being able to, like we said, process and explore those emotions as well, because social anxiety is really difficult to overcome, in the sense of thinking, oh, self-acceptance, let me accept myself so that I know that other people aren't going to be worried about me. But with social anxiety, that's not, they are worried about other people thinking about them, even if people aren't. It's that excessive thoughts, it's the overthinking, the over worries, so it's thinking about that. And if you're listening to this and you have social anxiety, just remember that a lot of times it is a part of social anxiety is to excessively worry and think that other people are thinking about you. Does that mean it's real? Does that mean it's true? That's what it comes down to. Is it real? Is it true? Because a lot of things we think about a lot may not even be real, may not even be true.
And they come from us. They come from our negative thoughts. Like, I will never forget, I was having a bad day or bad morning with my ex one day, and he said something to me that made me think about my weight. And I want to say I got on the elevator somewhere in work. I was coming to work, and this lady, she was just staring at me. And so I did the thing, like, I was trying not to do that because I'm at work, because I will give you the neck, like, what? But I turned around to her, smile, and I was just looking at you because you had such a pretty smile. And I made my whole day, because I'm sitting up here thinking she commented on what my ex had said that morning. I want to say it was something about my weight. And really, this lady is telling me something that is beautiful about me. And I'm so in my head thinking that she's thinking the same thing my ex is thinking, or the same thing that people have said that have hurt me in the past. But she not even recognizing that. She not thinking twice about my weight at all. She like, that girl cute. And that's a lot of times what I think about myself when I'm in public. A lot of Black women, I know this, y'all, because we have been taught this from our parents and taught this from our mothers. We do the neck roll when people get to looking at us like, what do you want? What you staring at? And that comes from insecurity, because that's something that we thinking about. They probably thinking this. They probably think they all that. They think they better than me. When really, I know you've been in public staring at a girl because she is beautiful, and they're probably thinking, why is she staring at me? When really, you're in awe of somebody's beauty. And we have to remember that for those who have social anxiety as well. Remember that it's in your head sometimes. That people aren't thinking what you're thinking.
Yeah. That's the cognitive distortion. Like, that's something that you have to really, really kind of understand, that it's meant to make you think like that. Like, the purpose of it is for you to think that other people are thinking about you in a negative way. And it's meant to make you feel overwhelmed, and it's meant to do these things. So the experience you're having, yeah, like that's what we would expect to happen. And that's when you challenge yourself. And that's when you say, well, how can I know that that's what they're saying? Can I read their brain? That's like being able to check yourself. Can I read their mind? Am I literally reading their mind? Or am I just kind of taking my own thoughts and I'm projecting them out? And at that point, if it comes down to us taking my own thoughts, I'm projecting them out, which 100% of the time, that's what it's going to come down to.
Sure.
That's 100% of the time. When it comes down to that, even if you think you can read their body language, that's another thing that people think, oh, based off of their body language. Everybody keeps talking about this body language. And I'm just like,
no, they said their vibe.
Body language, all of that. They're like, now I feel like vibe, energy. I do.
Oh, I feel like you can have energy. Absolutely. I'm saying people mistake body language a lot of times for their vibe. That's why I said people like to say their vibe.
That you're right. Because they'll be like, oh, she looks like a bitch because she's just kind of just sitting there with, just Jay. So then
as hell. That's why I felt that in my soul.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is that it's like, that's, sometimes you have people who do things differently than you would do them, just based off of their experiences, their, family upbringing. And in your household, perfect example. I was working in a residential facility, and this is when I was still living in Tennessee. I was living in the South. I had a young girl come into our facility who came from Chicago. Now, I am from the Midwest, so I am very familiar with how, as a young girl, how you view the Midwest, like how you view your environment. And so she's there, and someone was staring at her, and automatically, if you're from Tennessee, drop down in the comment if you find yourself staring at people without a problem. If you're from Chicago, drop down in the comments and say what you do when people are staring at you. And that's just the difference right there. And so what she did was she snapped off, and she went clean, like this is her first day, snapped off. And everybody, including my team, were like, why is she acting like that? Why is she doing all that? She's doing too much and this and that. And I told them, well, that girl was staring at her. And where we from, that's disrespectful. That's a sign. That's a signal that something's up. So that's why she bucked up like that. And they were like, well, she needs to understand that is not how it go down here. And so I took it upon myself, being that we're from the same space. Hey, this is the South. So it's going to be a lot different than what you're used to. And because they're staring at you, or if they do this, do that, it's going to be something different. You're going to have to learn to understand what this kind of environment is like. It's not going to be like where we're from. And so from that day, first day, I was her favorite residential staff from that day. And all it took was for me to be able to understand her and sit down with her and say, hey, look, it's not going to always be what you think based off of your experience. And that just goes for everybody. We think we can read body language. We think we can understand it, but it's going to be different. It's going to be different per person.
I had that problem so bad when I moved to Tennessee. So bad. And not so much because of how I read people's body language, because I grew up traveling a lot. So I did feel like I gained that sense of empathy and understanding when it came to other people are going to express themselves differently. But I don't feel like I was always given the same grace for a very long time. And like when I first moved to college, y'all, everything I did and said, it felt so microscopic. Like I could literally be like, oh, I'm so tired because I gotta, I'm in school. So that's tiring as it is to know, and I got 3 jobs, I'm tired, I'm gonna go to bed. Jay is always so this. Her vibe is just so negative, and it's literally like Allie could tell them like she's tired, like it's just she's sleepy. I could be hungry, I could be, and I'm not gonna be chipper just because you walk into a room. And that was a social norm in the South. You walk into a room and you see a group of people, smile, be happy, pretend Southern hospitality, show them that you're happy you're there. Well, in my mind, I'm not happy you're here because I'm tired. So I'm gonna go to bed. And my face shows that. I've always been someone who, in the Black community, we all know we're gonna greet people when we come in. I'll greet you, but it's not always gonna be, hey, how you doing? Sometimes it's, hey, y'all, and good night. It is what it is. And that was very hard for me. Like, I was like, nobody gets me here. This is stupid. Like, I've never been on that side. I've always been on the side where I'm observing other people and I'm taking in their culture. And, I've always been accepting because I've been taught very early on to be accepting of other people. Crazy that I wasn't accepting myself, but accepting of other people and their differences. But it was very difficult for me too to understand that people are not going to always accept my body language. And like I said, that's why I said the vibes thing. A lot of people get body language and vibes completely miscommunicate. Completely miscommunicate. A sad face is not a bad vibe, y'all. I'm gonna let y'all know that right now. It's not a bad vibe. Sometimes a sad face is just a sad face, and we have to take that as that. And that's very difficult for a lot of people, such as myself, who a lot of times I wear my emotions on my face. If I'm feeling some type of way, this is how my emotion looks. But to other people, they don't think that. They're thinking it's some entire another vibe, when really I'm just hungry. And so I'm not happy. I just want alone time. So I just go alone. Not I want alone time because I want to be away from you. I want alone time because I want to be with me. And sometimes that can be a problem for other people. So we do have to remember that. And I did start realizing that social anxiety plays a part with other people I'm around. So that might make them socially anxious, thinking that I'm thinking something about them,
Yes. Yep.
So realizing what my body language might communicate to other people too plays a huge role, I think. For sure.
For sure. Like, this self-acceptance talk, it breaks down into so many different spaces that you can look at it. So this will be more of a just kind of a broad, very general piece to what self-acceptance is. And I'm hoping that maybe even future sessions, maybe we can bring some people in who are like, this is their thing. This is just like you said last time, like you're very intrigued right now with ego. For me, I'm very, my thing is going to be trauma.
Yeah.
That's just my thing. So be able to bring somebody on who their thing is about self-acceptance, self-love. What is that? And be able to talk more about this type of topic, because it's so much to it that if you struggle with your self-acceptance, then it could be a struggle with your social anxiety. With your social anxiety, you're looking at the environment and basing it based off of what you think is going on. So you're reading body cues. That's how that whole thing goes down, all the way down to, like we said, with my girl who came to the residential facility. What was her self-acceptance in herself? So it all comes down to yourself, your soul, who you are, and being able to accept who you are in the space that you're in, and just kind of go with that. That's kind of what I'm thinking about.
Also, when I was talking and I thought about this, well, I said this, but now it just made me think about how we do that. A lot of times we accept others and cannot accept ourselves for something that somebody else would do. We give them so much grace, especially like when it comes to like babies and stuff. That's the first thing I always think about. When it comes to babies, we give them so much grace and so much acceptance. They're just a baby. Even when it comes to people who we may view as less fortunate. Oh, they just got dealt a bad hand. But when it's our turn to accept something so small, it's when you think about the grand scheme of things, something so small, and we think about it, we overthink about it. But if it was somebody else, like I will literally watch my 1,000-pound sisters and give them so much grace. Like, give them so much as they deserve. Give them so much grace. I'm on every season. I'm like, Tammy, you got it, girl. You got it. We should go do it this time. But for me, I'm just like, nope, fat, lazy, can't go to the gym. Go cry. Like, literally that. And sometimes we have to realize that self-acceptance we give to other people needs to be mirrored in ourselves.
Yeah. It's like when you're accepting kind of going back to like that accepting of others and putting on the flip where it's like not accepting of others. If you can accept yourself and who you are and what you bring, then it projects out just as much. Everything that's going on inside, it's getting projected out on the outside too. So you can project out that being able to accept these people for what they do and how they do things and what they do, and say, that's how you do it. This is how I do it. I'm gonna continue to do it this way because I like the way I do this. I accept this way of doing it. So it is what it is, instead of, you need to do it this way because, kind of telling people how they should and shouldn't do things. So being able to accept who you are is a reflection out on how you treat the people in your life as well as like distant people in your life.
Agreed. Good talk.
Good talk. Good talk. Okay, so let's see, go ahead and drop down in the comments your thoughts on this episode around self-acceptance. I know that this was kind of spotty around, so I hope that we were able to keep it in a way where it was organized. I can't really tell because it was kind of like that. Kind of spotty.
They get it. Y'all get it.
Yeah, y'all get it. Y'all get it. You got two girls, one with ADHD, one who has the exact same symptoms, but just refuses to see anyone about it. So
you're right, for sure. I know what's up.
You said if she got it, yes. So we can get a little scatterbrained, but that is okay. That is what we are here for. We're here to talk. We're here to have conversations, get to know each other. So that means that you guys drop in the comments if there was anything that you found that it was really hard for you to accept, a topic or even an insecurity that it was difficult for you to accept, and then how you accepted it, if you accepted it, or if you're struggling with accepting it and wanting some advice. Maybe there could be some people in the comments that can give us some uplifting, affirmation, something to make you feel like, hey, I got this. So go ahead, make sure you follow us on all social media platforms at nbfr podcast, and make sure that you are also subscribed to our YouTube channel, liking our video, hitting that post notification bell, and sharing our episodes with your friends and family and loved ones, even your enemies if you want. I mean, why not?
For sure.
And for sure. Okay, and so until next time, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.